Okay, let's graph this dude. What are we gonna do? We're gonna try to factor the numerator and denominator. So let's factor that numerator using factoring by grouping. So let's pull out an x squared from those first two terms. And what are we left with? We're left with a 2x plus 1. And then look at the next two terms, pull out a minus 1, I guess. And what's left? A positive 2x plus 1. And we're happy because now we have the same thing there and there, which means that's going to factor as x squared minus 1 times 2x plus 1, which is kind of okay, but we can keep going because we have a difference of squares. So we get x plus 1, x minus 1, sweet. And 2x plus 1, I like to do this, not everybody likes to do this, but I like to pull that 2 out and say x plus 1 half. I consider that completely factored. I like to have just x as my leading coefficient in each factor, as my x term, leading coefficient of 1. Okay, so that's my numerator. What about my denominator? Well, I have the x plus 1. How does this factor? That factors as x something times x something. Hey, look, it's a perfect square trinomial. So x minus 3 times x minus 3. So let's write all of this. Now I have this right here, that 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 1 times x plus 1 half. Boom, right there, magic of copy and paste. That divided by x minus 3 times x plus 1 was given to us, and that x minus 3 is a multiplicity 2. I definitely just randomly paused this video and have no idea what I was talking about. I don't even remember why I paused. I, for some reason, went to my email. There's so many screens in my face. Where are we? I think we're just, doing this now. We've factored it. Boom. Now what are we going to do? We're going to do a few things. We are going to notice that the degree of the top is 3 and the degree of the bottom is also 3, which means our horizontal asymptote will occur at our coefficient value, which is positive 2. So we have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. We have a hole coming from those factors right there. Ba-da-boom. So we will have a hole when x is negative 1. And let's figure out what that y value is. If we plug in negative 1, we'll get 2 times negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 plus 1 half is negative 1 half. Over negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. Squared is 16. So it looks gross, but look in the top, negative 2 times negative 1 half is first off positive, and second off 1. It just goes away. So we have 2 over 16, so we get 1 over 8. So we know our hole is at the x value of negative 1, the y value of 1/8. Coolio. What else do we know / can we discover? X intercepts at x equals 1 and and x equals negative 1 half, and they both cross because multiplicity is 0. And finally, vertical asymptote at x equals 3, and my tails will be together, either both up or both down, because the multiplicity of that is even. Sweet. Okay, cool. What then? Let's graph it. Well, what do I know? Scoobity-doobity right there. I know vertical asymptote will happen when x is positive 3. So 1, 2, 3. Horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. Boop, boop. Blah, 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 boop, blah. Zeros when x is 1. Scoop up. And when x is negative 1 half. So boop up right there. Do we need to know other things? we could figure out our y-intercept, but I don't actually need that in order to sketch this graph in the correct spots, because look to the right of that asymptote. To the right of the asymptote, we have two options. We're either up like that, or we are like that. But think about if we were the latter. If we were down like this, look, that means I have an x-intercept there, and I know I don't have an x-intercept there because I've already factored it. So I have to be the former. I have to be looking like that. Okay? Well, what else do we know? We know that the asymptote has a multiplicity of 2, which means my tails are together, which means this also has to start up. Now, what's weird about this one is that I'm going to cross that horizontal asymptote. Yes, you may cross a horizontal asymptote. A horizontal asymptote is not the end of the world like a vertical asymptote. You may never cross a vertical asymptote. You may cross a horizontal asymptote. Horizontal asymptotes allow they let us know what's happening when x is super negative and super positive. But funky craziness happens in between, like crossing asymptotes. So we're going to cross because I have to go down to those zeros. And I cross it both. So I'm going to be like, hi, hello, 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 hello. And then I'm going to approach the horizontal asymptote like that from the bottom. But I also know I have a 0 at -1, 1/8. So let's mark this in as, I said 0, I meant to say hole. Well, let's mark that hole in right there. And we're going to call that complete. We could figure out the value of our y-intercept to be like more awesome, and maybe we should do that. So plug in 0, what do we get? We get 2 times -1 times 1/2. Again, that and that go away, and we're left with -1 over, plug in 0, 3 squared is 9, -1/9. So this thing has to be at 0, -1/9. Boom! We just made it like even better.